What are the first things you should do when you bring your new or new to you RV home for the first time?
So in this video, we put together a list of things to check and learn about your RV when you first bring it home.
Okay, so this is not going to be a full-on how-to video, but do be prepared, because it could take several days to go through all of these systems on your rig. Now I'll make it a point to list these things in an order that makes sense. I'm not going to tell you to turn your water heater on before you filled up your water tanks or sanitize them. No doubt there may be a few things that I've left off this list, but it will be a great launch pad for you to start to understand your rig before you either live in it or get out on the road. It might seem obvious, but the first thing you should do is go over the user manual.
Rico, manual.
If it didn't come with one, I can assure you that if you contact the manufacturer of the type of rig that you purchased, they will put you in touch with someone that can either send you a copy or download a copy of the manual. Trust me, it's worth it. Okay, so maybe I'm stating the obvious here, but take some time to get to know how your tongue jack works. They're all different, whether it's mechanically based or whether it's electric. Who needs power jacks?
We've got Power Glenn.
Understand the systems and practice using it in your driveway before you get out on the road, just so that it's a smooth transition. It'll really help and you'll appreciate that. We didn't practice. Our first shakedown trip, the tongue jack fell off the blocks.
It eventually slid off the blocks and yeah.
We look back on it now and it's entertaining, but at the time, that wasn't entertaining.
Another important thing is to use your leveling system, or if it's manual system, practice. But if you're not sure how to use that manual system, you can refer to our video on tips for leveling an RV.
Once you get your rig parked in your driveway, plug it in. You may not have a 30 or a 50 amp outlet, but you can still use a 15 amp outlet with a converter. I'll throw one of those in the description below so you know what I'm talking about. And that way you don't have to use your house batteries to run your refrigerator and some of the other things I'm going to ask you to get started with. Okay, you've got the rig plugged in. Now, turn the refrigerator on. It could take an entire day for that thing to cool down. Whether it's DC based, AC based, propane based, there's a lot of different options out there. Whatever you have, test every method of running the refrigerator and then keep it on, because you're going to make sure that it stays cold throughout your journey. This might seem strange, but take a photograph from multiple angles of the top of your batteries, whether they're inside your rig or outside on the tongue jack. There's a chance that you might have to disconnect and you may not know how to put it back together, or sadly they could be stolen and you could be out replacing the batteries and getting all the right fittings if you have a photograph of what's already there. Now, as we go through this list, you might think about jotting down your own list of tools that you find you need when taking things apart and working on your rig. And those are the tools that you're going to want to keep in your truck, your tow vehicle, or in the rig as you travel. We also put together a list of essential gear on our website at resetyourjourney.com under gear to save you the time so that you wouldn't have to do a lot of research, and to save you money because you don't need to buy everything out there. It's important to get to know the difference between your water tanks, which could be anything from 20 to 100 gallons if you're lucky, and your city water. You would fill your water tanks if you're going boondocking, or you just want to live off your own water. But if you're in a park and you want to live off their water and you want an endless supply, you'll use the city water. And this is the thing that you might need a pressure regulator in case the pressure's too high so you don't damage your PEX system. Now, before you even think about drinking water from your freshwater tank, make sure you sanitize it, regardless as to whether it's a new rig or used rig. You can learn more about sanitizing your freshwater on our DIY maintenance video. At this point, you're also going to want to turn your air conditioning on and make sure that works. You want to run your heater regardless of the temperature outside. You want to run all of your fans, and finally your water heater, to make sure everything works while you've got it in your driveway. While you're getting to know your hot water heater, if you plan on using it frequently, take out this anode rod. And make sure you order a replacement to have on hand because they can go pretty quick if you're using a lot of hot water. Take off every removable panel in your rig that you can find. This way you can figure out where all your systems are, what makes them tick, and what you need to do if they break down while you're out on the road. Find the panel that covers your heating system and make sure you take that off as well. That way you're able to vacuum that out and see if there's anything wrong or all the wires are connected properly. Make it a point to get to know your electrical system. Know the difference between your AC and your DC system. Your circuit breakers are for your AC, and then your DC system runs on fuses. You should think about picking up a spare set of fuses because when these go out and you're boondocking and you're running off that DC system, it's a good idea to have a backup. Get to know where your water pump is, what kind it is, where the filters are, and even consider having a spare one on hand if you rely on your freshwater tank for boondocking more than city water. When we first got our travel trailer and turned our hot water heater on, it didn't work. We had no idea why. Turns out it was bypassed, and I didn't even know what that meant. So, read the manual and get to know how your hot water heater works and what the bypass valve is for. Most of them have similar setups, but you can usually see there's a valve and one way bypasses it. Now we've bypassed it. Now we're allowing access into the hot water heater. So regardless of what yours is like, make it a point to learn how to use it. Take a moment and go through and check all of the P-traps underneath of your sink and your shower. They come loose very easily, especially if it's a used rig. You could end up with a loose one and then a massive leak when you don't really want one. In fact, this happened to us somewhere in Idaho when our P-trap had come undone and we were showering and it ended up making a real mess. After you check all of your P-traps and other plumbing, go through and any connection on your PEX lines, that's all the tubes that run the waters through your system, check each one to make sure they're tight. Another tip, memorize the torque on your lug nuts and pick up a torque wrench. If you travel as frequently as we do, you will have to reset the torque on them on occasion. All right guys, here comes one of those obvious ones again. Change your tire. Make sure that your spare tire fits. Get comfortable with changing your tire in tight circumstances because you don't know when it's going to have to happen. And I will say this much, we have been in circumstances where we had to jack up our rig multiple times. If you don't have a bottle jack, get one and keep one. We carry 2 on us all the time. But change your tire. You don't know what kind of circumstance you're going to be in if you have a flat or a blowout. And if you're comfortable with it, it's going to be a lot smoother. Now when it comes to jacking up the rig with a bottle jack, I want to caution you not to place the top of the bottle jack directly on the axle. You can safely do this on one of the U-bolts, but it's not as convenient. But what I did find was this really cool bottle jack adapter called the Bottle Jack Buddy. Now this adapter fits right on top of the bottle jack, and it has this great curve in it that cradles the axle, which means you can jack from the axle without causing any damage. And it makes it safer if you're on any kind of incline or decline by improving the stability of the jack. And if you know anything about Rose and I, we love to support small businesses because we owned a small business for 20 years. And Bottle Jack Buddy is made in the United States by a small company, and the owners are very cool people. Not only do we give advice about RVs, but we also live full-time in this thing. We boondock most of the time, but we try to inspire people to get out of their comfort zone and live life now. Get to know your suspension system and understand that if it has wet bolts, they need to be greased on occasion. Also know that if you're going to grease your wet bolts, that all the pressure has to come off of the suspension system, and that means jacking one side up on the frame. If your new RV happens to have a walk-on roof, spend some time up there and check all of the seals, even if it's new, because sometimes they're not done 100%. Reseal anything that needs to be done. Check the sides of the rig and even on the bottom of the rig and prevent any water coming in that you can. If your new RV happens to have solar panels, make an effort to learn where all the wires are run, how your charge controller works, if you have an inverter, how that works, and then how many amp hours you have in your batteries, because that'll make a big difference of how long you can use them before they need to be recharged. In fact, on our first trip out, we had no idea. We burned our batteries off in the first night. Crank up the propane, we run the heater off the battery, 2 batteries, they're deep cycle. Turns out there's not enough power in those batteries to keep that fan running from the heater all night. So we died completely. Batteries, get to know your batteries. Talk about a lesson learned. Get to know your propane tanks. First and foremost, learn how to switch between the tanks, because you might have to do this at 2 a.m. in the morning in the dark when your refrigerator stops working when you're boondocking. But also learn how to take the bracket off, learn how to remove each tank, so as soon as you get this, you can practice. When one goes empty, it'll be a breeze taking it off and getting it filled up. Take a few minutes to learn about your GVWR and your cargo carrying capacity of your trailer or motorhome, because it might be less than you think, and you can fill that up really fast.
We also suggest that you download all your RV manuals and schematics for each system to your phone or laptop to use when you're offline, because as we know, problems tend to arise when we're off-grid. Now, these RV manufacturers, most of them will be able to email you all these things if you ask nicely.
Now that you've spent all of this time in your driveway going over your RV, it's time to get it out to a parking lot and practice backing up. Doesn't matter if it's a motorhome, fifth wheel, or bumper pull travel trailer. The idea here is to just get comfortable with it. You'll refine and perfect those skills once you get out on the road. And last but not least, make sure you know the measurements of your RV. Take a note on your cell phone of the total length bumper to bumper, and if it's a travel trailer, make sure that's tongue to bumper. And just as important, know the maximum height of the tallest object on your roof, because those overpasses sometimes can be too low.
Guys, thanks for watching, and we hope you found this helpful. Now, we know this is a lot of information to digest, so this guy wrote an article on our website at resetyourjourney.com.
Yes, and I took the liberty of putting check boxes that you can put little checks in as you go through this material, because again, I know it's a lot of stuff, but this will help you with the journey that you're going to take with your new RV. Guys, thank you so much for watching. We really appreciate you being here.